Lift your lid. Welcome to Swift Talk with Sherry Swift, helping you experience explosive growth, moving from where you are to where you want to be. Say no to mediocrity and yes to the life you want and deserve. Here is your host, best-selling author, performance coach, and speaker, Sherry Swift.
Welcome to Swift Talk with Sherry Swift. I am your host, Sherry Swift. I am super excited today to talk about the health and wellness of our fur babies. We love our fur babies with enthusiasm. I can't tell you how excited I am because I have 3 fur babies of my own. And to be perfectly honest, most people that I know that have fur babies, they love their animals as much as, if not more than, they do their actual children. So I'm really excited about the opportunity to discuss the importance of their health and wellness and the opportunity for grooming and industry perspective. Today's guest is Brian Lane. He owns the Bingo Institute of Grooming and the Bingo Pet Salon located in Royal Oak, Michigan. The Bingo Institute of Grooming is a pet grooming school training students to become professional dog and cat groomers. Welcome to Swift Talk, Brian.
Thank you, Sherry. I'm excited to be here.
I am super excited to have you here. So, Brian, you know our fur babies, Sasha, Bailey, and Hiroki, right?
Oh, I know them real well.
Yeah, I know you do.
Baby since for years.
That's right. That's right. So, you know that this topic of health and wellness for our fur babies is very close to my heart. And I'm so grateful for you as a professional to come in and talk with us about the importance of health and wellness and how we ensure that we're actually facilitating that on behalf of our animals. And then I'm really excited to talk with you about your grooming school. So why don't we jump right in, and why don't you tell me a little bit about your grooming salon?
Yeah, Bingo Pet Salon's been open for almost 7 years now. We opened in October of 2011. We do full service dog and cat grooming, and we also do pet sitting and walking in the downtown Royal Oak area. And then 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago, we opened the Bingo Institute of Grooming, where we now train students who want to become professional dog or cat groomers.
Wow, that's amazing. So let's talk about, before we jump into the training, and I'm really excited to hear and learn more about that, let's talk briefly a little bit about the grooming, okay? Mm-hmm. What would you say is one of the most difficult things, because how long have you been open at Bingo?
We've been open for almost 7 years.
Okay, so for almost 7 years. So what would you say is one of the most difficult things in your 7 years of service and experience? What would you say is one of the most difficult things that you've seen?
Well, for us, one of the more difficult things is trying to get people who aren't groomers themselves to understand the importance of grooming and trying to explain the nuances of it, because a lot of people will bring in their dogs, every 4 or 6 months when they're matted and just be like, okay, well, we'd like to, try to keep what we can hair wise. And, you should be able to just brush it out, or, even for people who just want to get them shaved, not understanding the importance of trying to not allow your dogs to get to the point where they are matted because of the health risk that matting can cause.
So what I think I hear you saying, Brian, is that 4 to 6 weeks seems to be the magic time frame. Is that right?
Yeah, we prefer to see them every 4 to 6 weeks, because even if a dog does end up getting shaved, as the hair starts to grow back, there is hair can start matting even when it's really short. And like I said, the goal is to always try to keep the dog from getting to the point where the matting is beyond the point where we can brush it out. A lot of people don't understand that when a dog gets matted, that there's, like I said, health risks that can come about from that. Fleas and ticks can hide under mats. Mats can get so tight to the skin that they can actually cut off circulation. Sores can develop under them. If they get matted around the ears, when we shave those off, they can develop hematomas because of the rush of blood flow to the ear. They can cut off blood circulation to the tail. Even on their limbs, if the mats become too tight and they start to circle around, they can actually cut off circulation, and they can, we've seen extreme situations with the rescues that we work with where dogs have had to have limbs amputated because of matting being so bad.
Whoa, so this is so much more than just a cosmetic issue.
Correct. It's a major health issue with dogs and with cats as well.
Okay. So talk to me a little bit about your most common service that you provide. If I've got a dog and or maybe a new puppy, or maybe I have an older dog and I've never gotten him or her groomed before, what is a entry-level grooming experience that I might be able to look forward to with my dog? And what do you guys call it? How do we order it up?
Yeah, there's a lot of different things that we can do with dogs and with cats as well. They're very similar in their grooming needs. Dogs generally are more frequent, though. We prefer to see them as soon as possible. So even if a dog doesn't have hair, which is going to need to be cut if it has fur that sheds, we prefer to see them at a younger age, because the sooner we can get them used to the process, the easier it is going to be for them in the future with their grooming. Shorter dogs may not need haircuts and may not need to come see us as frequently, but they may get to the point where the owner doesn't like the smell, or they may be shedding a ton, and grooming can help to obviously make them smell better and to help reduce the shedding. And also, getting their nails and ears cleaned on a regular basis is very helpful for their maintenance in between. So the younger that they come in to see us, the sooner we can get them used to these processes.
And so is there an age that it's just too late and it's just too difficult in order to introduce them to this spa experience?
It's never too late for a dog or a cat to start getting groomed, as long as they're healthy. When we start to see, a lot of times with cats especially, we see them as they get older because they'll stop grooming themselves, and the owners will bring them in, usually in need of either a severe brush out or getting shaved, in which case our biggest concern is their health. Because grooming, if they're not used to it, can be a very stressful event. And it's the same with the dog. But I have seen, we've had dogs that have come into us that are older and have never been groomed before that do just amazing with it. It's all individual to the dog. So we never know how they're going to react. And the same with a dog that may have come to us, a dozen times. They may not react the same every single time, because much like us, they're going to have their own good and bad days.
Yeah, absolutely. So I know that one of the services that we always order up with you for our fur babies is, I think it's called Feet, Face, and Fanny. Is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. The Feet, Face, and Fanny is an in-between groom, and it's really popular, especially if you want to grow your dog out. But keep them looking like they're freshly groomed. So for dogs that we want to keep a longer length, or say maybe we had to shave a dog because it came in matted, they may come in the next 2 or 3 times and just get a feet, face, and fanny. And that's where we do the same services. We will trim the nails, clean the ears, glands, shampoo, condition, but instead of doing a full haircut, we just trim around the face, the feet, the fanny, and then let the body length grow out.
Okay. So tell me about the challenge when it comes to grooming a dog that's never been groomed before. You bring in, and I think that I know the answer to this, but I want to give you an opportunity to talk about it. Bingo grooms for pets that don't have homes, haven't found their forever homes yet. Is that correct?
Yeah, we actually have a nonprofit wing of our organization called Bingo Cares, and we offer 100% free grooming services to local rescues and shelters in the Metro Detroit area. And so we see a lot of dogs that have never been groomed because, unfortunately, they came from neglect situations. So we're very experienced with those types of dogs. And
that is amazing.
And the hardest thing is trying to, understand that they're not going to react in the ways that we want them to, but we need to get done what we have to do. When we work with a puppy, oftentimes their first time coming in, they dictate what we do with their first groom. So oftentimes if somebody comes in, we may say, we'll try to do a full groom, but more than likely we're going to do a feet, face, and fanny on them. To introduce them to everything. When a dog comes in from a neglect situation and it's matted, we really have to get all those mats off. So we have to do the full thing. We don't always have the option of, going, just doing little bits here and there. So, with them, it's trying to, get everything done and not cause them any pain, because the mats can actually pull into the clippers and they can have mat sores. They may also already have wounds under there, and we want to make sure that we go as slow as possible so that we don't cause any further, pain or injury to them that they may already have.
Okay, gotcha. So when you actually offer this service to the puppies that haven't found their forever home yet, how is this funded? And is there a way that our listeners can actually tithe into this in order to support this?
Yeah, we have a website called bingocares.org. And it's just bingocares.org. We take donations. A groom, usually if somebody wants to sponsor a full groom, it's $35, or they can just sponsor a partial groom. We also do fundraisers throughout the year. We do different drives, and we sell bones in the store where people can buy a bone for $5 and make a donation. And then sometimes we just, at the end of the year, we never turn away an animal. So if we run out of funding, we still do them regardless.
Okay.
Because our last thing we want to do is a cat that's in need of a groom so that it can find a home. So over the years, we've groomed over 600 animals. Last year, I think it was about 150 to 160 dogs and cats that we did.
Wow.
Every year we get more.
Okay. Wow. So what's the most common breed that you're grooming these days, Brian?
The most common breed that we see right now are doodles. Everything seems to be mixed with a poodle. So we get labradoodles, golden doodles, sheepadoodles, bernedoodles. Everything's got some sort of poodle in it. So tell
me about that. What's up with that right now? Why is everything mixed with the doodle right now? What's the popularity of that right now?
Well, the popularity behind that is that people think that all of these dogs are going to be hypoallergenic. No dog is 100% hypoallergenic is the first thing that people need to understand. The hypoallergenic dogs are dogs that produce a very low amount of dander that usually will not affect somebody, but they're not 100%. And a big problem with these mixed breeds is that a lot of them aren't even to the point where they can be called hypoallergenic, because there's the start of the doodle craze came about from a gentleman in Australia who was trying to breed a seeing eye dog for somebody who was allergic. So he started tinkering around with breeding because golden retrievers and Labradors make great seeing eye dogs. So he started tinkering with mixing them with poodles to try to come up with a breed of dog that would be a good seeing eye dog as well as hypoallergenic. And one of the things that he noticed, though, was that only a small percentage of each litter would actually be hypoallergenic. So when people get these breeds, they need to be real careful about talking with the breeders, because you generally get these dogs from breeders. Most of them aren't found in rescues. And making sure that they're testing them properly to see that they're hypoallergenic.
Okay, but what I hear you saying clearly is that there is no such thing as a 100% hypoallergenic
Correct.
dog.
But there's certain, when they hit a certain level of allergens, they are allowed to be called hypoallergenic. So that's the big thing to realize, is that, like you said, there is no 100% hypoallergenic dog. But when they get to a point of producing such a little amount of dander, the government allows you to call them that. Kind of like when there's certain things that they say are fat-free, but the FDA only requires them to have a certain amount of fat.
That's right. That's a great example.
Yeah, it's the same with doodles, that they don't have to be 100% hypoallergenic to be called that. But a lot of them are not even at that level of being hypoallergenic, because I think the percentage was around 30 to 40% per litter is what the breeder found in Australia. And so, a lot of these dogs still produce dander. And on top of that, a lot of them even have hair and fur. So they have crazy coats that require a very, very insane amount of grooming.
I was just about to ask you that. I was going to ask you, what's the difference? Because all dogs don't have fur, right?
Right. Fur, hair grows, fur sheds. So a shedding dog, like I have, my dog's name's Sparty, and she's a American Bulldog Shepherd mix, and her hair sheds like crazy, but I don't have to get her a haircut. Dogs with hair, like Sasha, Hiroki, and Bailey, need to have their hair cut. So they, when you have a doodle, they actually have both sometimes. So they will shed sometimes, and they have hair that grows. And those are very complex to deal with in the grooming industry because they need to have a lot of home maintenance. Some of these dogs need to be brushed on a daily basis if you want to keep them at any significant length of hair. And then they'll need to come in probably monthly for some sort of a haircut.
What would you say is the greatest concern that a pet owner who loves their fur babies should have when they are entrusting their fur babies to a salon? What's one of the biggest concerns that we should have?
Well, one of the biggest concerns is that no groomer is required any formal training. And a lot of people don't understand that, is that we are probably one of the least regulated industries in the entire country. So you could decide tomorrow you want to be a dog groomer and go open a salon and say, this is Sherry's Dog Grooming, and I am your groomer. Because a lot of people don't even understand, I myself am not a dog groomer. I've owned my shop for 7 years. I've been in the industry. I know a lot about grooming, but I myself don't groom. I cut nails, I bathe dogs, and help out with some small stuff. But I don't dare call myself a groomer because I have not been through that formal training. And that is why we opened our grooming school, because one of the dangers that we found is a lot of these shops there's such a shortage of groomers in our area, and I'm sure it's nationwide, that people will train people on the spot. And a lot of times we find out with these places that they're actually learning. We get students come in and they're like, yeah, they just gave me clippers and said, okay, this is what I need you to do. And that was like their third day on the job. And that's really safe. And dogs have gotten hurt,
Oh my God.
even to the point of being killed at shops where, people who aren't properly trained have been working on them. And so it's, when you're finding a groomer, one of the most important things to know is, what was the type of training that your groomer went through? Was it a formal training? Not all groomers have gone through a school like ours. A lot of groomers went through apprenticeships, which is perfectly fine as long as they're being trained properly. But to understand, the type of training that your groomer has and that they know really what they're doing. And one of the things that we're actually trying to do is to try to get Michigan as well as other states to look for some more formal training, some more regulation of groomers so that we can make sure that...
It is unbelievable to me that anybody at any point can just make a decision that they're going to be a pet groomer, and there is zero level of accountability for training and for preparation. That to me is just bananas.
It really is. And I don't know the real reason behind why. I know that states like California, Massachusetts, New Jersey have put in front of their legislatures for years various bills to require groomers to go through testing similar to the way hairstylists do. Some sort of a formal testing, and it's not to regulate how we groom, but to make sure that groomers have the proper training and knowledge to be doing it. And these bills fail year after year. And so it kind of amazes me that, but in Michigan, several bills have passed recently to protect animals who are abused, to be allowed to prosecute people who abuse and neglect animals. So things are starting to turn around, and we're hoping that the next step is some sort of regulation, at least requiring that groomers, take a certain test to know, the basics, and safety is the main thing.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So I think that kind of like blends us right into your conversation about your institute and how you're training people and making them equipped to care for our fur babies the way that they should be cared for. Tell us a little bit about the school and the process, and just tell us more about that.
Yeah, the Bingo Institute of Grooming opened in 2015, and we've graduated a little over a dozen students, I think, so far. And currently we have 7 girls who are in the program. It is not regulated for only girls. We men groom as well, which is a misconception in the industry always as well. It's 6 months for full time and 12 months for part time, but it's more based on the credit hours that they are required to do. So we do see some people finish in shorter periods than that, but they start off watching some videos and reading some book work to kind of get a basic understanding. They'll do some observation work of the groomers as they're bathing and clipping, and then they themselves, as they start to get hands-on, start at the basics, learning how to properly bathe a dog. A lot of people don't understand there is actually a proper way to bathe the dog and to dry them. So they start off, learning to do that, and then they'll go to nail clipping, trimming pads, learning how to do clipper work, and then finally scissoring and finish work. And so it's a process where they have to master one skill before they start with the next. And it's a very individualized program, so everybody learns at their own pace.
Are they actually practicing on live fur babies while they're there with you?
Yep. And under 100% supervision of instructors, but yes, they are working on actual dogs. Another scary fact is that there's actually a couple online grooming schools. And I don't know how you can possibly learn how to groom a dog.
What?
So
Exactly.
we do work with live animals. A lot of the rescue dogs that we do are done by students. They're a little less particular in the finish work of the dog, so it's a little bit easier to allow them to have some creativity with a dog that if its haircut's not 100% perfect. And then we have a lot of clients because we do our grooming at the schools at a discounted rate. So for people who can't afford regular grooming at a professional salon, student grooming is a great option. I mean, the students are supervised. They're not left to just do things on their own. We make sure that they're ready to do one step before they move on to the next. And so a lot of times the dogs look just as good as if they're done at a professional salon, but kind of like going to a Douglas J, you get a nice look with half the price.
Yeah, and based upon what you just said a few minutes ago, Brian, to be perfectly frank, it may be a better, more professional experience for your pet because these people have actually taken the time, energy, and effort to actually learn how to do this before they jumped right in, right?
Right. And for a lot of dogs too, it's really nice because they'll have multiple people working on them. So if a dog is a little bit more difficult, they have 2-3 students working on the dog, whereas instead of one groomer trying to struggle on their own, they'll have assistants.
Okay. So once your students have completed their in-house experience, their clinical experience in the school there with you, is there an internship opportunity, and do you guys help them with that?
We do. And so for the dog students, their internship's 160 hours. For the dog and cat students, it's 200. And we help with placement. Typically what we do is we, based on the location of where the student is, we try to find them something near their home so that the goal is to get them hired. Almost all of our students were hired straight out of their internships. Some were actually even hired a week or 2 into their internship, which is great for them because that is our goal. Every one of our students has worked as a professional groomer upon graduation, and there is I currently have a list of over 100 job openings in Metro Detroit alone. We get calls from Toledo, Indiana, Ohio, Illinois, even Toronto, from people trying to hire groomers graduating from our school. It's pretty crazy.
That's amazing. I have to tell you, it's so scary to me that anyone at any time can jump right into this occupation without any type of accountability and certification. So I want to just point out to all of my listeners, just please make sure that you ask the important questions when you're dropping your fur babies off to ensure that these people have actually had some training and have taken some time to prepare for this time with our beloved fur babies. So I see people walking around, Brian, with their fur babies with blue hair, green hair. Is this safe for our animals?
Depending on the way that it's done and the types of products that are being done, oftentimes I've heard people say that, I've heard of places they'll just use Kool-Aid to kind of give a dye that washes right out in a couple days. There's a lot of stuff that can be, mild and fine. There are some specific pet made products that are okay for their hair. We don't actually do that stuff at our salon. We find some of it to be kind of harsh, and it can dry out and damage the skin. So we don't do it. But if it's done by somebody who's properly trained, then it can be done safely. They just, again, need to be, careful of who's doing it and what products that they're using, because, unlike when we dye our hair, if you're going to dye a dog, you have to dye its entire body. So you got to be a lot more careful with them.
Okay. So let's talk about, if I decide to be a pet groomer and I take that path, what does compensation look like for a pet groomer? What talk to me about the different arms and legs of opportunity in the industry. Where do I go? What opportunities do I have?
One of the great things about our industry is there's really something available for anyone. For some people, a lot of groom shops still pay their employees on a commission base. And commissions vary depending on where you're at, and you have to kind of look at the different opportunities that are out there. And some shops now are changing around to where they pay as employees. We pay our groomers as employees, so they have to look at, commissions may be at a lower rate when you pay as an employee, because that shop's also paying your taxes or your employee portion of the taxes. Whereas if you're an independent contractor, you're going to pay a little bit more in taxes because you're paying employment tax. Some shops, offer benefits. I know we had a couple of different Petcos that called us that said that they're, offering some, health and dental benefits to their groomers, which for some people that may be a better option. They're often paid at an hourly rate. But if you have those benefits that come along with it, if you have a family to support, that may outweigh the lower commission rate. There's also opportunities in vets. Daycares now are often hiring groomers. Some groomers can work at home. I always caution people, if you're going to work at home, make sure that you check with your city and make sure that that's legal, and make sure that you have the proper paperwork behind that and that you document things, because one of the biggest things is if somebody reports you as a home groomer and you don't have your ducks in a row, you can get hit up with some pretty hefty fines from your city. So just making sure that things are done properly. One of the big things too now is mobile grooming. A lot of people want their groomer to come out to their house, and that can be a great opportunity for people as well. We have 2 students that are looking to start up in our program that want to start their own mobile grooming business. There's a lot of different opportunities, and pretty much anything that fits, for the person. There's a lot of flexibility in hours too. I have a couple groomers that, they come in at 8 or 9 and they're done by 2. So if you're a parent that wants to be, active in your kid's life, that's a great opportunity there.
Sounds like it's a pretty physical job though. Am I right in thinking that?
It is a very labor intensive job. And when we talked to when we were opening our school, we called a lot of schools in different areas to kind of see, what their demographics were and to see how we should market this and what groups to look at. And one of the bigger groups of people looking to go into grooming is people who are retiring. And there's absolutely nothing wrong with somebody who is, retiring, 50, 60 years old that wants to go into grooming. But one of the things they do need to think about is, like you said, the intensive labor behind this industry. And if you're physically capable of performing the job, wrestling with a dog, can be pretty difficult. And not just for someone who's older, but for someone who, maybe is younger, but has, arthritis issues or something, it might not be something that's, capable for them of doing.
Good information to know. So it sounds like any other industry that's out there, you can go completely entrepreneurial and start your own company, go to work with someone else. It sounds like the opportunities are just endless, huh?
They really are. And, it's really about what you want out of it and understanding what you got to put into it. Because just like any other industry too, it's not an easy job, and you can't just, it's not all playing with puppies and kittens. As much as we do get to play with puppies and kittens here and there when they come in, there's a job to be done as well.
Absolutely, absolutely. So I'm excited. I think that your phone is going to start ringing off the hook because the need is so big and the opportunity on the service side is huge. Now, before I connect my listeners to you, let's talk briefly about cats. And, I want to make sure that I don't miss this conversation. I have cat allergies. So as much as I love cats, I think they are absolutely beautiful. I can't have cats because I'm just going to swell up and stop breathing. It's not a good thing. But I love them, and I'd like to know, I'm very curious, what's the grooming standard for cats?
Yeah, I'm actually highly allergic to cats as well, so I feel your pain there. But with cats, a lot of times the biggest problem is as a cat gets older and they stop self-grooming. And that's when we see a lot of the cats come in, because they are then in need of, assistance with their grooming. Oftentimes they get to the point where we have to shave either portions of them or even all of them. We call it a lion cut when we shave them completely, and then get them cleaned up to the point where we can then offer maintenance schedules to them. As a cat gets older, we may need to have them come in periodically for brush outs, sanitary trims, and nail trims.
Okay.
But for a lot of people, we have some people come in that they have cat allergies, or they'll have friends who have a cat allergy that are coming over, and they'll have us come in and just do a bath and de-shed on the cats. Our allergies come from the dander that's produced by them. So if you bathe them and brush them on a regular basis, you reduce that. Again, you can't make a cat hypoallergenic, but you can greatly reduce the amount of dander that they produce by brushing them and bathing them. So that can help if you have company that's coming over that's allergic. Oftentimes that's what we see. But a lot of times we get lion trims as well. Some people just like them because they're cute.
Okay. So, Brian, where are you located? Where exactly can we find your shop and your school?
Yeah, the great thing is our shop and our school are located directly next to each other. We're in downtown Royal Oak, right in the heart of downtown off 4th Street. 108 West 4th Street is the address for the shop, and 110 West 4th Street is the address for the school. We have lots of parking in downtown Royal Oak. They just built a brand new parking structure, so plenty of places to park by us, because that's always been a big concern.
Okay, and this is Royal Oak, Michigan we're talking about.
Yep, it's Royal Oak,
okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have any affiliate relationships in other states for referral purposes? If someone is listening from a different state, if someone is listening from a different state and they say, oh, I wish I could go see Brian for my fur baby or for my cat, but he's in a different state. Give me 3 questions, one, 2, or 3 questions that if I'm picking up the phone and I'm calling a groomer that I've never spoken with before and I'm trying to qualify them to hand my baby over, what are 3 questions?
So we don't have any affiliations in other states, but one great thing to do, and one of the biggest referral bases that we get, are just asking friends and neighbors. The biggest thing is, finding people that you trust. Because we are with the dogs, we see them often more than the vets do. So we often have to, tell a client, your dog may have an ear infection. So, asking your friends, neighbors, if you just moved to an area, asking your local vet. Nowadays, one of the nice things about social media is there's a lot of these platforms. We have the Ferndale Forum here where I live in Ferndale, the Royal Oak Community Forum. And, putting a question out there and asking people in the community saying, hey, where's a good place to take my dog? I have this kind of dog, or, I have a cat. Is there a local place that grooms cats? Cat groomers are very rare and very hard to find. So we actually have cat people come to our shop from 40, 50 miles away sometimes.
Wow. So where do we find more information on the school specifically?
So our school, the website is www.bingogroomingschool.com. We also have a Facebook page and a Twitter that people can find us on. And then our shop is bingopetsalon.com. And there's links to both connected on each other.
Okay. And most often when we have an entrepreneur, amazing entrepreneur like yourself, they'll come on to Swift Talk and they will offer a discount for listeners that come forward and say, I found out about you through the podcast, Swift Talk with Sherry Swift. I was just wondering if you'd like to offer our listeners a discount today.
Yeah, anyone who comes to us and from hearing on the podcast can get 20% off their first groom. If they're already a client, then they can get 10% off their next groom. And we also do a referral. So for any referrals that a new client or an existing client sends us, they get $5 off their next groom. And the new referral gets $5 off as well when they mention that they were referred by somebody.
Okay, fantastic, Brian. We'll make sure that our listeners can connect with you faster and sooner. We'd like to make sure that our listeners are clear that this offer is available to anyone listening that's local. We want to encourage you to take advantage of it. The service at Bingo Pet Salon is absolutely amazing. It's perfectly clear that they love our fur babies, and I want to encourage you to reach out to Brian. And if it is that you've kind of got an itch and you're curious about what it might look like should you decide to serve our fur babies and to become a professional groomer, not very many places are out there that create the opportunity for the consistency in learning this trade. So I want to encourage you to reach out to the school. Brian, thank you so much for being our guest today and for representing the pet industry properly. Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
To our listeners, I am so grateful that you're here with me on this journey, and I want to invite you to connect with me on the gram at Swift Talk for upcoming episodes and more information and links to find our guest. Visit me on my website at www.sherryswift.com, and most importantly, please make sure that if you're interested in sharing some really cute photos of you and your fur babies, please email them to me at swifttalk@sherryswift, and just let me know that it's okay to share them on my blog. I'd love to share the love for our fur babies. Comment wherever you're listening. Please share, and more share. Tell a friend, because my goal is explosive connections in order to be a life-impacting resource for more and for many. Bring someone along. Life is simply delicious, my friends. Let's enjoy a great big slice of it together. Till next time.
You've been listening to Swift Talk with Sherry Swift. If you would like to schedule time with Sherry, download the show notes and much, much more. Find it all at www.sherryswift.com.